Today, I'm going to describe about the ovarian cycle. The ovarian cycle occurs inside the female body. It is a monthly series of events which an egg becomes mature inside the ovary. Usually, one complete cycle takes about 28 days to be completed, but it can vary among females. It can be as short as 21 days and it can be as long as 40 days. The ovarian cycle can be divided into 3 different phases. The first phase is known as follicular phase, which occurs around day 1 until day 14. The second phase is a very short phase which is known as ovulation, which occurs around day 14 in the mid-cycle. The third phase is the luteal phase, which takes about 2 weeks' time to be completed, from day 14 until day 28. Now we take a look at what happens inside the female ovary. So we know that the female ovary contains many primary follicles. And these primary follicles contain primary oocytes. And during oogenesis, we also know that the primary oocyte has already started its first meiotic division before the baby girl is born. And when the baby girl is born, the meiotic division is arrested at prophase 1. And at puberty, regulated by certain hormones, it causes several primary follicles to develop. So this is known as the follicular phase, which only occurs upon the onset of puberty. So in follicular phase, few primary follicles will start to develop. It will grow, and when it grows, it secretes estrogen hormones. But usually, only one follicles will continue its development. So when it grows and develops, it starts to continue its first meiotic division. So when the follicle becomes mature, it forms a fluid-filled cavity. We call it as antrum. And the whole follicle now is called as Graafian follicle. It grows very large, causing the surface of the ovary to become bulging. So during the development, you can see that the primary oocyte has already completed its first meiotic division. It forms 2 types of cell. The first cell is called as secondary oocyte, and the other cell is known as first polar body. You can see the differences in terms of size because this is due to the unequal cytokinesis, in which the secondary oocyte receives large amount of cytoplasm and first polar body only receives small amount of cytoplasm. So now we move on to the second stage. So the second stage is the ovulation process. During ovulation, the bulging wall of the ovary ruptures and the Graafian follicles also ruptures, releasing the secondary oocyte from the ovary into the oviduct or fallopian tube. So the secondary oocyte will start its second meiotic division, but again it is arrested at metaphase 2. So ovulation, which occurs around day 14, is when the Graafian follicle becomes finally matured. So the wall of the ovary ruptures and the secondary oocyte is released into oviduct. So you can note here that this is the secondary oocyte. It's very large, about 2 cm of human secondary oocyte. Now we move on to the last stage, which is the luteal phase. So the remaining follicles now will be transformed into corpus luteum, a yellowish body inside the ovary. The corpus luteum will secrete 2 types of hormone, namely estrogen and progesterone. So both hormones will affect the endometrium lining in the uterus. So if fertilization does not occur, the corpus luteum will degenerate. And when it degenerates, the level of estrogen and progesterone hormone will decrease. And that is the end of the luteal phase. And the ovarian cycle will begin and be repeated once again. So we can see here that the luteal phase occurs about day 14 until day 28. So the remaining follicles, the ruptured follicles, will be transformed itself into the corpus luteum. So this corpus luteum will start to secrete estrogen and progesterone. If fertilization does not occur, this corpus luteum will degenerate. But if fertilization occurs, the corpus luteum will be maintained and continue secreting estrogen and progesterone. Okay, with this, I end the ovarian cycle explanation. Thank you.